Good evening and welcome to another edition of HGP Sport for today, Thursday, August 28, 2014. I am Jaden Samuels. Thanks for joining us. Cricket news: after the lone T20 affair was washed out between West Indies and Bangladesh due to heavy rains and troubles with the lights at Warner Park, the two sides will now look towards the Test series, which starts on September 5. The one-off T20 between West Indies and Bangladesh was called off after heavy rains hit Warner Park 17 minutes into the match. Besides the downpour, the ground staff had to battle strong winds, which left them struggling to control the covers all year on. The extra time they took to cover the surface allowed the deluge to drench the pitch. There was also trouble with the floodlights, which hampered the ground staff in their work after the rain stopped. Before the rain, Bangladesh batted and got to 31 for the loss of no wicket in 4.4 overs. Tamim Iqbal struck one over mid-off and Anmol Haq got to a 4 and a 6, but the visitors' brightest start on the tour was cut short. The attention will now shift to the two test matches, which gets going on September 5. The visitors are still to chalk up a victory, while the hosts are looking to make a clean sweep as they did with the three one-day internationals. Let's turn our attention to some local football news. Almost 3 weeks after Odinga Lumumba, president of the Alpha United Football Club, had called for a middle ground with the issues pending at the doors of local football, nothing has been done since then. The Alpha boss, who was part of the team challenging the Matthias-run organization for the ironing out of issues affecting the Guyana Football Federation and the way forward for local football, was calling for a solution, but nothing is happening on either side.
In the discourse, it was proposed that the opposing side would take the two vice president position and leave Mr. Matthias with his presidency and also with his supporter, who was the gentleman from Berbice. Mr. Matthias proposed that we have two, that we split in two. He would support me and they would support one. Our position was no, because it wasn't him to decide that. We would have decided who was the two. So he insists that we have one, we say we have two. So at that point, in addition to that, Mr. Messiah still insisted that those who we deem to be illegitimate should have the rights to vote. For example, let's take Essequibo. Essequibo has never had the right to vote in Guyana Football Federation, never in history, never. Essequibo was an IMC. I asked the lady from Essequibo, said, and this is public, I asked her. I said, were you ever voted? She said, no. I said, were you an IMC? I said, yes. I said, who made you a full member? She said, herself. I want you to understand what she said? She self. I said, do you have a letter from the GFF saying you're now a full member? She said, no. I decided as a full member. Secondly, the issue of Linden. Linden has a contentious issue. Mr. Matthias said that the people of Linden, the clubs, elected two members to represent them. We got a document from 90% of the clubs in Linden say that is not true. These are our representatives. So again, you had a problem there.
The explanation given by the Alpha boss regarding the situation is still unclear and leaves one to wonder the objective Mr. Lumumba or Mr. Matthias has in mind. Real Madrid forward Cristiano Ronaldo won UEFA's Player in Europe award ahead of Bayern Munich pair Manuel Neuer and Arjen Robben. Portugal captain Ronaldo, 29, scored a record 17 goals to help Madrid win the Champions League last season. Ronaldo beat Neuer and Robben in a vote from a panel of 54 journalists. Goalkeeper Neuer, 28, helped Germany win the World Cup, while Robben, 30, scored 21 goals for Bayern and 3 for the Netherlands on their way to the semi-final in Brazil. However, his club performances were enough to convince the voting panel, who had to choose from the trio after a short list of 10 was cut down earlier this month. And finally, in sport this evening, some international tennis news. British #1 Andy Murray and German qualifier Matthias Bachinga will take center stage at the US Open from tomorrow. The second round match at Flushing Meadows will open the late session at Arthur Ashes Stadium. Bachinga is ranked 235 in the world and until this week had never won a match in the main draw of a Grand Slam. Murray, seeded 8, will hope to avoid a repeat of the cramp he suffered in his opening win over Robin Haas. The Briton has been at a loss to explain why he was so physically compromised after only an hour and a half, but ruled out tension as a possible reason. That concludes our cast for this evening. Do remember to join us tomorrow for another edition of HGP Sport. I'm Jaden Samuels saying good night.